All right, so this is on page 2, and this really begins what Unit 4 is all about. Unit 4 is all about data, um, and we're going to do a project toward the later half of the week. Um, and so you have to know what a scatter plot is first. So a scatter plot shows the relationship between two variables. And it's usually just a bunch of plotted points, but those points actually mean something in real life. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So there's like an actual real application to this. This is used outside of just your typical algebra classes. This is used in the real life all the time. And so just like we have the different types of lines, we have a positive slope and a negative slope. The same thing is true for scatter plots. So if we have an x and a y axis, and you have a bunch of plotted points that goes like this, you could see they're going in the upward direction, in the positive direction. So this would be a graph of a positive scatter plot, and a negative scatter plot would look like this, where they would start up here and they would go down. So you have just like a line, positive line, or a positive slope and a negative slope, kind of the same thing. Positive scatter plot, negative scatter plot. And then the one where it says none, you have to know that this also means no correlation. So, for example, there is a relationship, a positive relationship. As x increases, so does y. For this one, as x increases, y decreases. That's why it's negative. And if there's no relationship between the x and the y, or no correlation between the two, it would look like this. You got your axes, and you just have a bunch of plotted points, and you really can't tell. It's not going positive, it's not going negative. There's no correlation, or there's no relationship between your x values and your y values. So then you have the line of best fit. The line of best fit is basically the best linear equation or line that goes through the most data points. So what do I mean by best? I mean, if you were to draw a line, the line that goes through the points the most, or goes through the most points, would be the line of best fit. So let's look at this example. And here's where I say where there's real life stuff. And this is what you're going to have to do for your project. You're going to have to get real life data. So it says the data in the graph below shows the resting heart rate and ages of a group of 20 people at the gym. Which line best represents the data? Graph each line to justify your answer. So here's what we have. You have the age, and as the age increases, you could kind of see that this would be a negative correlation. Because as the age increases, the heart rate, beats per minute, actually decreases. So what this is saying is that the younger you are, it looks like the faster your heart beats per minute. Is essentially, that's kind of what it's saying. So we don't have to know any of that yet. We will have to be able to interpret these. But all you have to do for this is it tells you, it says, which line is the best? Is it line A, B, C, or D? And so we just got done with Unit 3. Unit 3 was all about graphing lines and slope and all that. And so line A has a y-intercept of 80. So if I was to graph line A, I'd put a dot at 80. And then my slope is negative 2 over 3, which means down 2, right 3. So if I was to go down 2, I go down 1, down 2, right 3. 1, 2, 3. And it would be this point right here. Then I could take a ruler and I can connect those, and that would be line A. And right away, you should be able to tell, does line A go through a lot of points? And the answer is no. So I would assume that line A is not the line of best fit because it doesn't really go through a lot of points. You're looking for the line that goes through the most points. So let's look at line B. The y-intercept is 75, so it's halfway up. And then the slope is negative 1/3, which means you go down 1, right 3. So if you go down 1, right 3, 1, 2, 3, it would be connecting this point and this point. So if I was to connect those, it looks like line B goes through a lot of points. So I'm not going to erase that one yet because I feel like that might be the answer because it goes through a lot of points. Let's look at C. C starts at 80, and my slope is negative 1/3, so I go down 1, right 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I connect them. And line C is going to look like that. And C kind of goes through a lot too. I feel like I still like B better. And then line D, y equals 50 is just a straight horizontal line at 50. So this would be line D. And so it's definitely not line D. So I'm between B and C, but I think B, if I was to put the ruler on it, you could kind of see, I think B goes through more points. So B would be the answer. Which one goes to the points the best? Which one goes through the most points? And so for this question, again, same thing. Here's an easy way to start, though. Do you have a positive or negative correlation? And as you go this way, it's going down. So you have a negative correlation. So that means you're looking for the answer that has a negative slope. So answer choice A has a positive slope, so it can't be that. Answer choice C also has a positive slope, so it can't be that. So you're between B and D. So let's look graph B. B is negative 2, the y-intercept, so I go at negative 2. And then the slope is negative 3 over 5, so I go down 3, 1, 2, 3, right 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I connect them. And I would have to think that the answer choice is probably D because that doesn't go through that many points. So this right here is equation B. So let's look at equation D. You start at negative 2, so you start at the same y-intercept, but now you go down 5, right 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I run out of graph, which means I have to go up 5, left 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So it's between those 2 points. And this is graph D. Graph D by far goes through the most points. So that has to be equation y equals negative 5/3 x minus 2. Which line goes through the most points? That is the line of best fit. And so again, when you're looking at it, always start with, is it positive or negative slope? Is it a positive or negative correlation? This is a positive correlation. So because it's a positive correlation, I could immediately get rid of my negative slopes. So C and D both had a negative slope. they gone. You get rid of them. Eliminate those answer choices. So then looking at graph A, the y-intercept's 3. So 1, 2, 3 be that point. And the slope is 2, or again, it's 2 over 1, which means you go up 2, right 1. So I go up 1, 2, right 1. I mean, that's going to be a pretty good line, I think. That's going to go through a lot of points. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat that line. Let's look at graph B. Graph B also starts at 3, but it goes up 1, right 2. So up 1, right 2. Would be way like that. So again, this is graph A. This is graph B. Graph B is definitely not it. It's got to be graph A. Graph A, or excuse me, equation A cuts through the most points. That is definitely the line of best fit. Which line represents or goes through the most points? So let's do one more. This is still a positive slope. It's going up slightly, but it's still positive. So I would say this is a positive correlation. So B has a negative answer, or it's a negative slope. D also has a negative slope, so those are gone. And then both of these, the y-intercept again, is not shown, so it's the same thing as if it said plus 0, which means the y-intercept starts at 0. So that's my y-intercept. I always start graphing on my y-intercept. And if my slope for graph or equation A is 4, that's the same thing as saying up 4, right 1. So up 4 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. And then that right there is nowhere close. I mean, that is nowhere close to those points. So it's definitely not graph A. It has to be C. If I wanted to actually graph it, I can. So again, that was A. C would be up 1, right 4. So you still start at 0, 0, and you go up 1, right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it would be this line right here, which you could tell goes through way more points than graph A. So it's got to be C.